Welcome into the Vegas Young Show. I'm Mike Young. My guest today is Chris Phillips. You might know him as Zowie Bowie, a band that he started many years ago right here in Las Vegas and has been going strong ever since. Chris, where do you get the energy? That's what I want to know.
Well, I'll be honest, going to my shows at 11 o'clock at night is no problem, but being here at this early in the morning at 4 p.m. was a struggle.
Yeah.
It's a good question. I think, to put it very plainly, when you have a passion for what you do and you love what you get to do for a living, it's something that's not a chore. And I've been doing this for 35 years.
Yeah.
And I still can't wait to get to my show when it rolls around to the weekend. And I'll tell you the truth, I think I would still pay to do what I get paid for. Yeah. And I think as long as you can say that, then I think the best you can do in life is try to be as happy as you can and to try to lead life with good intent and to do good for others. And, in my small little bubble that I live in, I hope and think that if I have nothing to offer this world, it's to try to make people happy.
Yeah.
And I get paid to do that, and it's a beautiful thing. And someday maybe I'll grow up and get a real job.
And I doubt it.
But I'm so proud of you. This is so great. Vegas Young Show.
Yeah, thank you very
I think
much. you're
going to kill it here in Vegas, and I'm honored to be part of it. And so congratulations to you, my friend, and thank you for having me as a guest.
Thank you very much. I have all these interesting friends, and I thought these conversations we have should be out there for others to see. You're interesting. I mean, I think of this kid in Arizona who's, your dad played in a band, your mother was musical, so I imagine that's where some of it came from.
Sure. I grew up in a music family. Even though my parents went to college and became educators and attorneys, and my whole family was educators and attorneys, all of them. And then they had the black sheep that wanted to go off and become a Vegas showgirl.
Well, you had the hair and the legs for it.
So, but my mom and my father both started out right out of high school performing. My father was a jazz piano player in his own band called the Skyliners. Super cool band.
Very nice.
And my mother was a award-winning opera singer in Minnesota.
Okay.
And then she flew out to ASU in Tempe, Arizona to go to college. And at that point she met my father, and that was the end of her singing. And she then went on to become a first grade teacher, put him through law school. Then he'd been practicing, and she'd been teaching for 30, 40 years until they both retired. But they still had this passion and ongoing love for music. So every Sunday I would wake up hearing my father play the piano and my mother singing, and I grew up hearing all the American songbook standards that I so dearly love and are so connected with, kind of like the soundtrack of Vegas.
One of the shows you currently do is based on
big
band music.
I do two different types of shows. The one that essentially pays the bills is what I'm most known for, and that's kind of this high energy nightclub concert where we do, big medleys of dance music and such for the purpose of, socializing in the nightclub atmosphere. But my passion, to be quite honest, and what I really wanted to come to Vegas with something of an agenda and a mission was to keep this old vintage Vegas orchestra thing alive that I was so inspired by growing up. And so along with my nightclub concert, I have an 18-piece orchestra, which
unheard of nowadays.
Which we come out
Vegas,
with the tux and gown and do all the old Stephen Eady, Bobby Darin, Sammy Davis Jr., Sinatra, Tom Jones, Elvis type classics that I was so inspired by growing up. But to be honest, if I was to pinpoint the exact time and day that changed my life and that made me a Vegas entertainer, and the reason I'm sitting here talking to you, was actually back in the late 70s. The first time I ever came to Vegas was to visit my uncle, who took us to what was then the Hilton. And we walked in, and back in the late 70s, everybody was so dressed up and so sophisticated. Yeah. We went to this lounge, Benihana, with the dancing waters, and I got my first little Roy Rogers cocktail, and I thought it was so adult. I was, 11, 12 years old at the time, if that. And he said, we're going to go to a show in the showroom. And I was like, oh, I've never been to a show. So we walked into this opulent theater. We was greeted at the door by this maitre d' in a tuxedo. And he took us right down to the center booth, right in the middle. We felt like VIPs, and I was so enamored by just the atmosphere and the people and the Vegas vibe that kind of existed then. The curtain opened, and here comes this 32-piece orchestra with no wild special effects and things like you see today. It was just this incredible band, and out comes a guy with this personality and this charisma I've never been in the presence of before, of anything like that. And halfway through his show, here comes this guy with this beautiful tan, these perfect teeth, and this crazy hair.
Sound like anybody I know.
and he leaned over my booth, and he shook, out of all the people in the entire showroom, he shook my hand and said, "Welcome to my show, young man. I hope you're having a good time." And that moment, I thought, oh my God, the feeling I just got from that, if I could somehow bottle that or somehow do that myself later in life to make people feel like he just made me feel, that's what I want to do for a living. And it wasn't about becoming a singer or a rock star or write songs and go on tour. I wanted to be a Vegas guy. And so the guy who, quite frankly, changed my life was Tony Orlando.
Incredible. Tony Orlando and Dawn. They had a string of hits in the 70s, I would say.
The coolest thing about that particular story, it made such an incredible impression on me, along with other things that happened, some years later that made me then want to be a rock star. I was doing my show one night. Tony Orlando is in my dressing room. I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. And I got to tell Tony Orlando this story about how his presence and his genuine love for the people in his audience inspired me so much that I wanted to then share that with other people someday and hopefully give them the same kind of feeling he gave me.
Yeah.
And he said, Chris, what's funny is the exact same story happened to me back in, I think he said 1962, but with a guy by the name of Bobby Darin.
Incredible.
Came out, did his thing, shook his hand, changed his life.
Makes me wonder if there's a kid out there that met you.
Yeah, they're all in prison right now. Yeah, that's a whole different type of influence. No, and there was other people along the way, like seeing my first rock concert, David Lee Roth coming out with Van Halen and smelling things I've never smelled.
Influence.
Oh my God, I thought, holy crap, now this guy, this is pure excitement right here. And so I think that's where a combination of my energy I apparently have on stage and my passion for making people feel good really stems from those 2 or 3 moments in my life that were so incredibly influential to me. And everybody has idols that they grew up with, but needless to say, as I'm probably like every other male entertainer in the world, but if it wasn't for Elvis Presley,
sure,
laying in my mother's living room floor with speakers next to my head, listening to, coincidentally, Elvis live from the Hilton. Something about this hotel for some reason that just had such an impact on me. And I laid there going, God, what is that guy's life? What was his life like? I want to experience something that's just even a taste of that. And so it always stemmed to wanting to be a Vegas entertainer. Because everything that I was influenced by,
which is interesting to me. That's what's specific about you, is that you never really thought about touring the world.
No, everybody says, do you have any original music? And I was like, shit, I can't write my own name, let alone a song. Quite honestly, I've been doing this 35 years, and the first song I ever wrote in my life was last year when the Golden Knights and NBC Network came to me and said, would you write the theme to
you had a great commercial to
Vegas Golden Knights? And I was like, oh God, no pressure there. And we're going to film a 1-minute commercial of you and your band performing this original song that you're going to write. Yeah. And we want it to be called Road to Victory.
Yeah.
I thought, well, here we go. Here's a 1-minute-long song. My keyboard and I player put something together, and we filmed a video, and they used it all season long on NBC and all over the place. And it's the only song I ever wrote in my life.
Well, that's a good
one.
And
it might be the last, I don't know. But
so how interesting must it have been for you to go full circle then and be invited to the 50th anniversary celebration? It's now the Westgate, but it was the International.
It started, as you say, the International, and they opened in July of 1969. Yeah. Actually, the first show they ever had there was Barbra Streisand, which was pretty cool, because she didn't perform live a lot back in. Still, to this day, doesn't perform a lot. But they had something else up their sleeve that they knew was going to change the complete landscape of Las Vegas and the impression that people had of this place, and that was bringing in internationally known Elvis Presley, who hadn't performed live I believe, since around 1959 or so, before he went to the military. And then all through the 60s, he just filmed movies.
So the comeback special was
So
68?
the comeback special was the first thing he did live, so to speak. But as far as being in front of a live audience,
Yeah.
selling tickets and doing concerts, it was the International in 1969. He came out and changed the history of Las Vegas and performed, thousands of consecutive sold-out shows until I think 76 is when his last show was. And he made some recordings during that time that so many people like myself used to listen to and just dream of, wondering what this must be like to be in his shoes and to do these cool concerts in Las Vegas, then get in a limo and go back to the penthouse and have these parties and live this life, and the chicks and the booze and it all just sounded great to me.
Did you get any of that during your career?
I never had a drink yet. Chicks, I've never met too many.
Yeah.
But I get to stand on stage, and I think one of the coolest things that I've done since I've been in Las Vegas is to stand on his stage singing Elvis music.
Incredible.
And oh man, there's nothing like that. But I'm very fortunate that there is a couple brothers here in town named the Fertittas.
Of course.
Frank and Lorenzo caught wind of what I was doing out in Scottsdale, Arizona. This was 15 years ago. I had created a show with the purpose of coming to Las Vegas with it. And so I wanted to come here under the right circumstances, and I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't, but they contacted me.
I don't think there's a playbook to this day to make it work.
Let me tell you, they were so generous and so kind to take a chance with a completely unheard of act or person out of Scottsdale, Arizona, doing this thing. But we had kind of a phenomenon going out in Scottsdale with this new concept for this type of show I was doing, which now everyone's been doing for years. It's a guy and a girl doing medleys of top 40 hip hop and other types of music, but to do it in kind of a way that the DJs would do it in these medleys of shorter versions of the song that went one into another, with the intent of never letting people leave the
Almost
dance
like a
floor.
DJ set.
It's exactly what I tried to copy their way of keeping people on the dance floor. Yeah. And I was very inspired by other live cover bands at the time, one in particular that I have to hats off to. If it wasn't for the Boogie Nights, Perfect World Productions, Jamie Brown and those guys doing their thing.
High energy as well.
Extremely influenced by them, because they started, even though they were from LA, they really started this phenomenon in Phoenix and Tempe, Arizona, where I'm from.
Okay.
So every Sunday I would go down to this club and just analyze them and watch them and think, wow, these guys are getting away with just putting on some costumes and singing cover songs and being treated like rock stars and living this rock star life and getting paid well. And, again, the chicks and the booze and I was like, whoa, this is actually conceivably possible.
Yeah. At this time you were a drummer.
I was a heavy metal drummer with hair down to where I could actually sit on my hair back in the 80s, and I lived in Hollywood and did that whole thing. But during that whole process, I was like, God, I want to sing. I want to be up front. I feel limited. I'm not pursuing my true destiny here. And so it wasn't until I was about in my late 20s that I had some friends back in Tempe, Arizona, that were in this 80s novelty new wave type show that did, Duran Duran and David Bowie and things like that. And I thought, well, gosh, they said, our singer's sick and we need somebody to replace him. Would you be willing to fill in? I know it's only a couple days away. You've never sang before. I'd never held a mic. Never sang anything ever. And I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. But I'll tell you what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to hide behind a persona. I'm going to change my name. And I'm going to pretend that I'm David Bowie's son, Zowie Bowie. I thought of this just in the kitchen at their house on a whim. I thought, that's pretty silly. But, at least if I completely crumble on stage, I can't remember anymore. Who cares? I'm David Bowie's son.
Yeah.
Well,
the anonymity of all.
Long story short, I did the show, and the next day I cut my hair, sold my drums. I said,
hooked.
I'm convinced this is what I need to be doing. Not just because it was a passion of mine, but there was this kind of, not to sound corny, but this underlying mission to make people happy in some way and make them feel good. I didn't know what it was I was going to do in life to accomplish that, but I knew from personal experience that a man with a mic and a band can make you feel pretty good if you do it right. And so to me, it's never been about me at all. It's about the people who come to see us. And I've always said, you know, it doesn't matter how great you are on stage. It's how great you make people from the stage.
Yeah, and it comes
And
through.
that's the theory of how I started my show. And I think that's the secret, if anything, to my longevity and success, because I've now been doing this as Zowie Bowie. We're in our 25th year of Zowie Bowie, and the last 23 out of 25 years, I haven't had a week off, not one. And we
That has to be
perform
some
3 to
kind of
5 nights a
record.
week.
It must be some kind of record. I don't know of another residency or show that has lasted that long.
Well, it's the kind of thing where you love what you do so much, you can't wait to do it again, where some people are like, oh my God, I'm so sick of this, I need a vacation. My vacation is Sunday through Wednesday, just roaming the earth, you know. And now, you know, life has changed even more so in the sense that I never thought I would be married. I certainly never thought I would have a kid.
None of us
That
did.
was just so unconducive to my life for so long. It was
Here
the
we
last
are
thing I
at
ever
our
wanted.
age, and we both have young children.
You know, I'll be very upfront. In October, I'm turning 53 years old, which is super gross. But I have a 2-year-old little daughter named Ava, who's here with us today.
Hanging out with my
And
son,
all I have to
Jeff.
say is thank God for meeting my lovely, incredible wife, Jennifer.
The most tolerant woman on the planet.
Patience, tolerance, but she's Italian.
She has her moments.
So she has, no, I'm kidding. No, but she cleaned my ass up in certain ways and got me on the straight and narrow and made me realize what was important in life. And particularly after creating a family with her and with our little daughter and her son, it's just been so wonderful to still be able to do what I do and provide to some degree for these wonderful people and get to do what I do. We, you know, as I hate talking about this, but it's been so appreciated by the locals here in town to vote us Best of Las Vegas 6 times.
Well, you're the real deal. When we
Well,
go to, when I go
like
to
I
your
say,
show,
that's
I
not
have
for
a
me.
good
That's
time.
for them. That's that best of. It's best of. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as best of show or singer in this town. Everybody's awesome.
It's
And
all art, you know, it's hard to
but-
quantify it like
so
that.
I think if I was to accept this award, and we've been nominated now for the 7th time, which they'll be announcing in October, and if I were to win again, it's 100% because of the people who come to my show. That's who's winning, not me. I'm just a person facilitating a good time, I hope.
Well, and you're very active in the community. Anytime I've had a
Well-
nonprofit event or something that required, you know, a presence of luminaries such as yourself,
Well, you
you're
know,
always gracious.
The charitable aspect of what I get to do is just a bonus because, you know, by nature of what I do, I love helping others. And particularly if it has to do now at this point with kids,
Yeah.
there's certain...
You're a big old softy now.
Well, my gosh, I just want to be able to keep doing it, you know, because especially at this point in my life, if somebody would have told me at 18 years old, when you're 53, you're going to be a middle-aged white rapper. Still
Doing high kicks.
jumping around like you're David Lee Roth. And, you know, but back to this energy, you know, all I can say is thank God for desperation and alcoholism. They create this energy.
Yes, it's been creating the best of all worlds for many, many years.
No, I'm kidding about that. I'm not desperate. Anyway.
So Red Rock, that's going strong, your show there, right?
Yeah, we are in our 14th year now at Red Rock, and like I say, I kind of got off on a different tangent, but the Fertitas are the ones who caught wind of us back in Scottsdale, Arizona, and brought us here to Las Vegas to open up their flagship resort called Red Rock. And I had no idea what we were coming into town to do, and I didn't know how this worked, and we made this incredible deal with them back then, and when they were opening in April of 2006, and we drove into town with our U-Haul and had all my stuff in the back, and we were driving down the freeway, and we were like, oh my God, that's us on a billboard.
Isn't that
That's
cool?
us on another billboard. We went into the terrible Herbst, and we're on the front page of the paper, and we're on the front cover of this magazine. They're paying us this much, and we get to do it. We love it. Is this how it works for everybody? Then I realized very soon thereafter that was not exactly the common way of it being introduced to Las Vegas or staying on that level. We had to learn pretty quick then, as every show does, that, you know, you're given your start, and then they're like, it's up to you. What do you want
That's
to make
what I
of
want to
this?
talk about next. It's not easy keeping a headlining gig here in Las Vegas.
You know, I don't necessarily, I'm not able to really speak for so many other entertainers or shows and the way they make it, because I live in a very small bubble. I've been my own, I've never had managers or agents or publicists and things like that. I've done this whole thing out of the trunk of my car for 25 years, and I still have no clue what the hell I'm doing. I just kind of bump into things and hope that I'm not upsetting anybody along the way. But I think that's helped me too, to some degree, because I haven't burned, if any, bridges at all. I hope not, because it's all about relationships with any kind of business, and certainly ours is no different. And when you create a relationship with a property or hotel or a venue or a corporate client, I would rather be the one dealing with them personally than others who may rub them the wrong way, which is the way to become rich and famous, which I'm not. But at least I have good relationships with people, and I think that's hopefully been one of the reasons I've been able to say that we are still at Red Rock 14 years later. We're very proud to do big concerts out on the Fremont Street Experience every Thursday and Saturday for the last 10 years.
You were kind enough to let me propose to my now fiance.
Out of the 14 years that I have been here, maybe the second biggest highlight, next to talking to Tony Orlando, was having you on our stage and
thank you.
Getting to see you propose to your gorgeous fiance.
Thank you.
And to have it in front of 2,000 people. And
while I was there, I got a little feel for what you feel every night that you're there.
It's a drug, bro.
It must be, because I see you fire up. I see you before, and we're talking like we are now. And then I see you get up there, and something lights up inside of you. And then, of course, you have Nieve Malandra.
Well, I'm very blessed to have an incredible band, one of which my keyboard player, Dan Walker, has been with me now for 23 out of 25 years. And like I said, neither one of us have had a week off now since.
Incredible.
But along the way, we picked up some great musicians, and I've also been known for having lovely, talented female singers with me over the years. And the gal that I've had for the last 8 years is Nieve Malandra, who's incredibly talented, lovely gal, great mom. And she's still with me today, and hopefully will be for years to come, unless she gets tired of what we do. For the last couple of years, we also have incredible talent, Jamie Lynch.
Yeah, powerhouse vocalist.
Who has, I've learned a lot from, and on a lot of levels, but she's been in a lot of big shows here in town, and she's been kind enough to be in my show now for a couple of years. But just a couple weeks ago, we found out that she is going to have a beautiful little baby girl herself.
We're
for
all
the first
having
time,
kids.
So Nieve, her, and my wife have all got pregnant and had baby girls in the last 2 years.
Incredible.
Which is kind of cool. It's
Something
kinda
in the water on
so
that
at least
stage.
I was going to say. But at least they'll all have little friends now to play with each other over the years. And so Jamie's last show will be coming up in a couple of weeks. And so because she is unfortunately going to be leaving us.
We have a bit of an announcement, right?
I do. We are so proud to have somebody joining us who's going to be filling her shoes for a while. And she is probably known as being one of the, without question, most talented and well-liked girls here in town. Her name is Ann Martinez.
Another
She was the
powerhouse
star
vocalist,
of Baz and various other shows here in town, and she's just one of these people that everybody loves, and I'm going to feel like a fool up there singing next to her, to be quite honest, because that's a singer. So we're so excited to have her debut with us at the Westgate coming up in a couple weeks, and then she'll be doing every Saturday out on Fremont. And then Nieve is with me every Thursday on Fremont and every Friday at Red Rock. And, of course, we do various types of corporate shows, private events, charity functions, which, depending on who may be the person to fill in, Gotcha. But I'm doing something starting 2 nights from now, which I've never done.
Which is?
And that is I'm breaking it down to something very simple. And it's just me, piano player, a sax, and a guitar. And we're going to do kind of like a loungy type of thing where I get to sing songs I've never been able to do. It's called The Cocktail Beat.
All right.
And we're debuting this at the Westgate.
All right.
In their international bar. And it's no drums, no bass, and and no girl.
Okay.
So
you want to give me an idea of some of the selections?
It's music that I kind of grew up listening to in the 70s that aren't conducive.
Air Supply.
That's actually, yes, but we're doing Boz Scaggs.
Okay.
A guy named Billy Preston,
Sure.
Looking Glass, Billy Joel, Stevie Wonder,
All right.
things like that I love, but I've never been able to really sing in my nightclub concert or in my Vintage Vegas big band show. And so I'm finally getting to kind of do some music that I would personally be listening to in the car.
Yeah.
And, it's just kind of a low-key early evening hang from 7:30 to 9. Booked several of those over the next couple months and see what happens with that. But,
there's a lot of us out there that love that cheesy music.
And then I love that stuff. It's kind of in the realm of that yacht rock thing
That's
that so
what I
many
was
people
going for,
do.
yeah.
It's in that realm. But got some really talented guys up there. A guy named John Celentano, Matt Baldoni, and then of course my guy Dan Walker, who I told him when this is a true story, but I told him when he joined the band 23 years ago, I said, as long as I'm calling myself Zowie Bowie, you got a job, period. And I've stayed true to that, and he stayed true to me, and that's the way that works. It's the longest relationship I've ever had.
So far.
And so things are going great, and I couldn't be happier, and I'm so flattered, like I say, to be on your show and to be still doing my thing here in Las Vegas and trying to make people happy, and I hope I never have to grow up and go home. I'm just trying to keep the hair in my head and the fat off my gut, and at 53, that's not easy anymore, bro.
You're
when you get
inspiring.
married.
You are inspiring.
And I have an amazing cook at home who's my wife, who makes some incredible Italian dishes that I have to just look at and pretend I could eat.
I have to believe you get those calories out on stage. I'm telling you, when you see them on stage.
Well, it's 3 hours. It's 3
energy.
hours straight in the heat or in the freezing cold.
Yeah.
And I just feel like a little jumping bean up there, and have a couple vodkas and you do your thing, and I get to live out my little childhood rock star fantasy every week.
Makes me wonder why somebody would go on tour all over the world when you can come here.
They like to be, like I said earlier, rich
Ship
and
them right
famous.
to you.
I like to personally go home to my own bed every night.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate both in Scottsdale and here in Vegas to have these things that they now call residencies, where you perform the same place every week, and you can kind of, have something of a normal life, if there is such a thing, where all day long I change, because I'm daddy daycare during the day while my wife is at work, and so I go from changing diapers to jumping in the shower and then turning into this crazy.
So you say
Vegas
you want to be a Vegas
rockstar.
headliner. That's what you have to look forward to.
Yeah, so I get to have the best of both worlds, and hopefully, like I say, I never mature or grow up, because if I do, I'm out of business for what I do, because it's very juvenile.
Well, you're making good choices these days. I'm proud of that.
Well, that has to do with my wife, I think, more than
You and me
myself.
both, brother.
But I owe a lot to her, and just to be so inspired by this beautiful little child that I have, just kind of makes you reanalyze and appreciate, obviously, what's important in life. As you now know, again, I don't know if you've talked about this on the show, but you are a proud father of 28 days?
28-day-old
Gorgeous
son. Yeah.
baby boy named Jack.
And of course, I have a 10-year-old daughter as well.
Well, then obviously, but
Yeah.
for the first couple of years, as I'm discovering that sleep used to be something I used to do. And when I come home, after a couple of drinks, I'll get home at 3 a.m. I can't go to sleep till 5, and she's up by 8.
Yeah.
So
Here's
it's worth
something
it,
that's
man.
changed
It's so
about
worth
me.
it.
I find myself places like this wanting to get home to see my children.
Oh my
Excited
God,
to see
totally.
my kids.
I used to, oh God, every single night. I mean, I've done
10 years ago, we wouldn't have been having this conversation.
Dude, I've had 6,000 shows, and not until the last 2 years that she's been born, I would stay out till the sun came up.
Yeah.
Just because you can't go to bed and you're revved up, and you just want to accommodate your friends, and I don't want to say fans, but people, at the bar, and it's a fun existence. But now I get off stage and I can't get to my car fast enough, to be honest. Even though I know she'll be asleep, I want to go home.
Yeah.
I want to, just God forbid, in case of anything, but still, it's such a different reality for me now. And
Look at us growing up.
well, don't go that far. I don't, growing up is what describes me, but I've certainly had to become a tad more responsible with what I do. And so I take my screwing around a lot more seriously these days.
You're a professional.
Yeah, but again, I can't thank, some people here in town that have been so supportive and
The relationships
so helpful,
are so important here.
in particular the Vegas
It's a small
locals.
community when you're in entertainment.
Extremely
and even
small.
smaller if you're a headliner.
One thing I figured out pretty early on by coming to Vegas is that the entertainment community here is very supportive of each
Yes.
other. It's a close-knit community of people that are very encouraging to each other. I'm kind of out of the loop, to be quite honest, over the last year. I don't go out now anymore really as much, so I don't see a lot of my old friends. But I've never really worked in LA or New York. I can't imagine what that's like, but it seems to me, just from the peripheral, that it's a little bit more cutthroat and backstabbing in those cities. Where here, it's not. There's a little of that, sure, but again, everybody goes supports each other and is happy to see each other succeed, because it's so hard these days to keep a show running in Vegas, because it's a totally different environment. I don't know if you have a few more minutes, but that's a whole other subject. But back 20, 30, 40 years ago, you could come to Las Vegas and have some talent or a show or an idea and have a hotel get behind you and support you and pay you a salary and market you even.
Yeah.
And because they understood it was something, it was almost a gift to their customers, the people who stay at the hotel.
This is back when gambling was the main revenue source.
Gambling was the main revenue back then, where it is not anymore necessarily. And so shows were a big deal. But over the years, things have changed, and it's not better or worse, it's just different. But now, to get a show in Las Vegas, you have to have some significant financial backing. You rent the room, which is called four-walling.
Right.
You market yourself, which is exorbitant costs. And you pray to God you sell a ticket.
Yeah.
If you sell tickets, you can make money, and you can do very well. There's a handful of friends who have been doing it for years, and my hat's off to them, because it's a very scary thing to do. But you can live very well doing that. Especially if you have some kind of national notoriety, like a TV show, like a Chris Angel, or these guys that have Terry Fader, who get national attention. Then they come here. It creates more of a reality of being able to make that happen. But you take a guy like me, that just has a dream of being in Vegas and doing a show.
Yeah.
Good luck, because again, unless you have some serious backing where you can go in and rent a room and be prepared to not make a dime for a year, sometimes two. It's like a lot of businesses where you open your store or a restaurant, and you just hope by the second year you start making some profit. It's kind of how it is with a show. But in Vegas, hotels aren't real interested in what your 2-year plan is. They want a 2-week plan, a 2-month plan, where you better start seeing some profit or you're in trouble. Or your financial backer starts seeing you bleed, as they refer to it as, we're bleeding.
Many famous actors say that there's always a desperation inside of them. They always feel like there might not be a next opportunity.
Sure, and I feel so bad for so many of these shows that are so deserving, and such great people with great intention who come here with this dream, and they set up their show, and they're like, okay, let's buy a house, we're here, we're ready to be Vegas stars, and literally weeks, days, months later, that's it. Because what's happened, and it's not their fault, the people who come to Vegas want different things than they used to. First and foremost, you have to keep in mind there's approximately, on any given time, between 250 and 300 shows that are offered on any given night.
Yeah, the
variety. A lot of competition. Add to the mix that hotels have now figured out that big-time, internationally known stars are wanting to come here and set up their residencies. So now they're building them these huge theaters, concert venues, where you've got between 2,000 and 20,000 seats to see the J-Los, the Garth Brooks, the Celine Dion's, the Madonna's now coming here, and these huge names. That how is Zowie Bowie Smaui going to compete with that, with Backstreet Boys and Gwen Stefani and Ricky Martin and Bruno Mars and Cher? It goes on and on. Yeah. These are now the Vegas names, not us mid-level guys, especially some of my dear friends who had big-time shows on the Strip, but people just aren't buying tickets to that anymore. They're doing celebrity chefs. They're going to see J-Lo, and they'll, instead of seeing an $80 ticket for a great showroom show, they'll spend $800 to go see, or $8,000 in some cases, like a Lady Gaga and these people, which I get it, but it really doesn't fare well to the mid-level, normal guy show. But obviously, and I think everybody in the world knows this, the thing that changed Vegas was the implication of the DJ.
Yes.
The nightclubs. Because now you got DJs that are coming in here that are the Vegas stars.
One guy getting paid $30 million.
And you can say what you want about that, But if you're bringing them in, hey man,
Whatever sells tickets, right?
if you're making it happen, my hat's off to you. I don't understand the concept of a DJ as much as a live entertainer, but I get it. I get the allure of it. I get the what they're doing to a room full of people who come to Las Vegas to want to have a really good time.
Yeah.
There's that pulsating beat that they can create mixed with this multi-million-dollar production of lasers and lights and smoke, which it becomes a multi-sensory experience visually, audio, the feeling, and now you're sitting in a booth with a couple beautiful young ladies and maybe a little illegal substance inside you. You're in some euphoric world that it's hard to explain, and I get it. I totally get it. You get, a handful of guys from Wall Street coming here and they want to have a damn good weekend. Do they want to go see Donnie and Marie, or do they want to go to Hakkasan with some beautiful women and get the party on,
Yeah.
That's what Vegas has shifted to. I personally would be at Donnie and Marie. But, thank God there's still people who like live entertainment, and I hope it lasts for a long time. And a lot of people talk about, the pendulum is going to swing from the DJs back to the show. I don't see that happening for quite a while. I wish it would. I'm on that other side.
Yeah.
But, when you're talking about a guy with a flash drive that can come in and set up shop and pull in 8,000 people that will generate over $1 million in revenue at night. If I was owning a hotel, I'd be going that direction too. I get it. I'm a fan of the DJs. I wish I had their craft. My God, I wish I could do that as well and actually make a living. But I prefer personally to be entertained. Yeah. If I was to come to Vegas, especially if you're in your mid-30s or 40s and up, they probably don't want to go and sit in some late night club and spend $10,000 to sit down at a table and just be bombarded with this sensory explosion. And instead, they want to possibly sit down at a nice showroom table and have a couple drinks and be entertained by something that's coming from the stage. And
which is exactly what Zowie Bowie provides.
And then there's another level to that. There's a lot of shows in town that are incredible shows, visually and otherwise. Amazing talent. But for my money, I like the kind of show you go to where it's interactive, where there's no wall between the show and the audience, where it's almost like it's different every night. And you know that it's personal, and you involve people, and you're talking to people in the audience, and you make them feel part of it. And even in my case, I bring them up on stage with me, and it's all about celebrating special occasions with me. I'm like the Chuck E. Cheese of bands. If it's your birthday, go see Zowie Bowie.
What you felt as a little boy when Tony Orlando came up to you.
Dude, it's all about that exactly.
Yeah.
That connection you can make from the stage. There's so many great entertainers over the years who could do it, but nowadays, there's still great entertainers in town that do, Frankie Marino and Frankie Shinta and Clint Holmes and, these incredible entertainer guys Gordy Brown is one of the best that they understand that it's about the audience.
Yeah.
And you do what you can to make them feel good. And that's what I want to do. And that's what I want to keep doing regardless. And if people want to show up, great. If they don't, that's great too. But I can't see myself ever doing anything else because, man, after not having a real job since 1984, I'm not sure if I'd fare very well behind these modern day cash registers or technology.
You could be my insurance guy.
I'm lucky I know how to turn a computer on, let alone work one. These phones, my 2-year-old daughter knows how to use my phone better than I do. But, I can't spell insurance guy, let alone understand the concept between with these real jobs and what you have to
I could say from a fan perspective that you're doing exactly what you should be doing. I can't even imagine any other thing for Chris Phillips.
Well, I've been very, very lucky and blessed. And again, I highly encourage anybody who is going into college or starting their life out to please follow your passion, whatever that is, and figure out how to make a living doing it. Because you have to essentially make that your life for years and decades to come.
If you're going to work hard for something, why
I don't
not
care what
something
it is.
you love?
Even if it is insurance, if that's your passion, pursue it, because it's something you're going to have to do every day forever. And for me, it just happened to be a clown up on stage trying to make people happy. But, I admire so many people that are so intelligent and are so technically capable of doing so many amazing things to change this world. It's incredible. I can't fathom what it takes to even get through college. So I'm praying to God my daughter. All I have to say is follows her dreams and her passions. I don't want to say goes to college or becomes an entertainer.
There she is now.
I can hear her screaming in there right now, and
I'm interested to see what our kids are to be.
That's why if you go to my show now, the hit of the night is "Baby Shark."
Because you're watching that every day.
Oh my God! If I have to hear that one more time. But it's either go to college, follow your passion, or meet a rich old dude. One of those three things. Come on, Amy.
Let's aspire a little higher than that.
It's Vegas.
My guest today has been Chris Phillips of Zowie Bowie. If you're coming to Vegas, you have to go see his show. You can see him at Red Rock. You can see him at the Fremont Street Experience main stage, and now apparently at the Westgate.
Yes, that is
as
true.
well. You will see a high energy show and be entertained. I guarantee you. Chris, thank you for coming on the Vegas Young Show.
Dude, congratulations! I'm absolutely thrilled to be here, and gosh, and thank you, Las Vegas. I hope I'm here for years to come, and do the best I can to try to do my part.
Chris Phillips.